Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm just going to specifically talk about something that occurs quite commonly during any type of healing or introspection process, whether it's when it's being done guided with someone or perhaps with yourself and you're faced with this issue. And the issue is that whenever you are consciously looking at going deeper, whether it be by accessing an emotion or perhaps like making a conscious connection to an unconscious part of you or a memory or like the origins of where a pattern comes from, you may be faced with certain types of blocks. Now the blocks can show up in the form in many different ways. Trying to overly intellectualize it, like trying to rationalize it and find the pattern and understand, from that rational, perspective. Or it can show up in the form of dissociation, like it's like we're kind of accessing it and then all of a sudden we just kind of start drifting away. It's like, oh wait a minute, kind of go back to kind of focusing on what I was trying to do there. Or you can just go blank. Just go blank and like nothing is coming to me. Okay, now whenever this happens, generally the go-to response is to get frustrated at yourself, particularly with like the dissociation or the blank. Those are the main ones I'm going to talk a bit about today. I'll talk about like the overly intellectualizing part of us that can actually impede on us going through the healing process. But typically when we get to these points where we're confused, we go blank, we dissociate, it can lead to a lot of frustration because, we have made this conscious decision to be like, I've experienced some problems in my relationship. I'm doing this behavior that doesn't serve me. I'm really anxious all the time. Like, we want to know where it comes from. It's natural. We want to find out, where it comes from so we can address it and move on from it, because hey, who wants to be stuck in perpetual cycles of suffering? It's not the most fun time, right? And it can be very frustrating when we're faced with these blocks. We get confused, we disassociate, we shut down, we get distracted, and then we internalize that frustration towards ourselves and I'm stupid, there must be something wrong with me, or whatever it may be. So it's really important that you have the perspective that's going to be needed in order to move through these layers so that you can get to the juicier information, so that you can go through the process of healing, so you can have a breakthrough and gain that moment of clarity and awareness, like, wow, the layers of perception that have been filtered by some distorted worldview because of some trauma or pattern just starts dissolving, and you kind of have that moment of peace, that you experience the healing where there's more lightness within your system, all the amazing, incredible moments that we want to get out of going through this process of healing. And the perspective is that whenever you experience any of these blocks, these blanks, you start getting distracted, dissociating throughout it, is to get curious towards it as if it has its own separate individual energy, because dissociation has an energy to it. Going blank has an energy to it. Getting distracted has an energy to it. And that energy is part of our system. So just getting curious towards that energy there and trying to understand why it's there, what it's trying to give you, what it's trying to do for you, what the role is, asking for permission toward it, if we can ask it some questions. And this is going to be super important before we even try and break through, because sometimes people go blank, they're like, come on, get in more, like, it's not working, I can't do this shit, and getting kind of frustrated at themselves, and that's not a fun time either. So there's a few really simple ways that you can do this. As you're going through the introspection process, perhaps you're doing some journaling and you kind of get blank, or you're being guided in like a talk therapy based session, or perhaps you're in a meditation and then all of a sudden you start getting distracted, or whatever it may be, whatever modality that you're using as a way to get this breakthrough and go through this process, is that whenever it arises, you can visualize the blank as if the blank is its own separate kind of entity from you, and you're just beginning to like create a bit of space between you and the blank, and then you begin to open up a dialogue with the blank. Okay, so it's like after you've identified the blank, create a little bit of space. You know, perhaps when the blank comes up, it's like, okay, there's a blank. All right, ask the blank, you know, can you just give me a bit of space now? So it's like you're observing the blank from outside of it. You are not the blank. Sometimes it's like, I'm the blank, I'm stupid, I can't do this, you know, whatever it is. So you're just creating a bit of space, and then you're opening up a dialogue with the blank. And it always has to come from a place of curiosity, compassion, connectedness, courage, when you are connecting to whatever that barrier is, that block. And this is going to be great for people that can't remember like their childhood. They're just like blanks on memories and things like that. Or, you know, kind of when they want to go through a process of healing, they just start kind of shutting down and disassociating. This is going to be great for you because it's going to begin to shift your relationship to these parts of you. Yes, they're parts of you. That isn't going to come across as so condemning and judgmental and fueled by a frustrated energy that only creates more separation between you and these protective parts of you, because yes, that's what they are. Okay, so once you open up that dialogue, you know, perhaps you can start off like, you know, you're visualizing the blank there, and you just imagine yourself asking the blank, like, you know, just keep wondering, is it okay if I can ask you some questions? And then get the information intuitively back from the blank. You may feel a shift in your body, or perhaps you can visualize the blank relaying some kind of message to you. You know, maybe the blank is like visually you can see it as like a version of you, like going, or it's just like an energy, like a force field or something like that. Again, you know, it can display itself in so many different ways. This is why it's really important for you just to trust your own experience with it. There's no right or wrong way to you know, observe these different parts of you. And then from there, you know, once you have permission from this part to ask it some questions, you can then start to ask it questions like, you know, what's your purpose for being here? Like, what's your job in terms of maintaining this blank over here? And then perhaps from that point, you may get a message that's like, oh, I'm here to, you know, prevent anyone from passing me. Okay, and then you ask the blank, oh, just curious, you know, why is it important for people to not pass you? And then the blank may say something like, because it's not safe, because if people pass me, they're gonna hurt, you know, what's behind me. And typically behind these blanks is more vulnerable parts of us. Okay, you got to understand that these protective parts of us came out of, like, as a result of adaptive responses to our environment or stressful experiences that we may have had in the past, where blanking out, forgetting about it, dissociating, you know, just getting distracted, they were all ways to internally escape the external reality because we physically couldn't escape and extract ourselves from it, or physically we couldn't protect ourselves. So these become ways for us to cope with the overwhelming emotion and pain that we may have gone through at that time. So think of these as like parts of us that we formed in our past that are just doing their job now, and they've never been guided to like put the shields and the spears down and, you know, go take a break and, you know, go to Bali for a holiday and just get their legs up and have some espresso martinis or whatever, right? And before you can even think about giving them permission to go and do that, you first got to connect with them and understand what their role is and why they are there. Okay, again, so you're not going in with the intention like, yeah, why are you there? What's your job? And then you're, you know, trying to sneak in or push them away. It's got to come from that compassionate, creative, connected energy. And that means that even if the blank doesn't even respond to you, or maybe they're very short answered with you, or even after you get all this information from them as to why they're there and you validate it and understand them, and, you know, you get where in their past they you know, sprouted from as a result of what they were going through at that time, you're still not expecting that they're going to let you through, because you're going to have to build trust with them. You're going to have to build trust with yourself to open up, okay? And you can't force your way in, because if you do, what's the blank going to do after that? If you try and bypass the blank, this is what I spoke about in my spiritual bypassing video, well, the blank's probably going to resent you, not trust you, and be like, who's this, conscious self think they are, trying to just jump over me, like, I didn't do a good enough job, I exposed the vulnerability, this isn't safe. Alarm systems online, bought up even more now. And sometimes that can happen. And these are just things that we have to, be aware of, right? Not forcing our way in. So it's not expecting that the blank's just going to let you through. Just understanding how far the blank is going to allow you to go in that exchange. And it takes time. It's a gentle process. When I'm working with clients one-on-one or in our group programs, we go through this process so that we're like building a map of all these different protective parts of them, understanding them, where they come from, what their roles are, where in their past they originate from, before we start doing the deeper work with the more vulnerable parts, because it allows more of a safe passage and a safer experience. Okay. So from that point, when that blank is beginning to reveal some of this information from you, again, at this point, you probably don't even know what's beyond the blank, the memories or, the source. But that's okay. You're just at that stage. You're just focusing on being present with that stage of the system. And healing is a layered process for anyone who's already, experienced that. You're being present with that layer that you're currently at. Okay. From that point in time, you can then begin to ask questions like, how long has it been doing this job for? So now you're creating a bit more of an embodied or visual identity to it, perhaps like what age it is. And then from there, you can ask that blank, why was it important for you to do this job back then at that time? And this is at that point in time where the blank may begin to reveal some of its vulnerability, because you've got to understand this is like a past version of you who took on the burden of directing energy towards yourself to go blank. And I can probably assume that you as a child or teenager or whatever, going through whatever you went through at that time, going blank probably wasn't what you wanted to be doing back then. You probably wanted to be the opposite of that, which was present, having fun, playing, being creative, dancing, getting love, whatever it was. But because of the circumstances that you're in, and because that was the choice that you had to take at that time to deal with the situation, you went blank, okay? Once we get that information and that blank begins to reveal some more of its vulnerability, it's kind of, and as it's showing its vulnerability to you, it's building trust, because we express vulnerability to people or to parts of us, or parts of us reveal to us, the self, when they trust us. Okay, so this is a good sign, right? From that point, you can begin to ask the blank, well, if you didn't have to be holding up this blank right now, what would you rather want to be doing instead? Asking the blank, you're not telling the blank, look, I want you to take it down, get away, like go be present, play, be your authentic self. The blank's gonna be like, man, shut your ass up, man. You don't understand me. You don't understand what it's like around you. It's probably not going to work. You're just kind of butting heads with yourself there. Internal conflict, and really got to nurture more of that compassionate conversing with the different parts of them. Okay, so that's the next part. From that point, the blank may reveal that information to you. And then from that point in time, you may begin to ask, are there any conditions that you have with me if you were to go and start playing and being more creative and directing this energy that you have been towards the blank to something else? Perhaps the blank may say something like, yeah, on the condition that I can come back if I feel like it's not safe. Or on a condition that if I let you through, you're not going to hurt the other parts of me that are beyond this point. Because that's been my job, to protect them. You may come to some kind of an agreement, and if they let you pass temporarily for a short period of time, maybe to go a little bit deeper, you may get that in other occasions where you connect with them. That's when you can start to access what's beyond that. Some old memory, bit of a deeper understanding as to what the root is of something that you're struggling with. And this is how you can begin to transform and move through the layers without getting overly frustrated and learning more about yourself. Now, if you found this video helpful, be sure to like, subscribe to this channel. And if you're interested in learning about how you can connect to these different parts of you that are part of your protective system and go through this process guided, which I'd highly recommend, doing it on your own is very challenging, and book a call in with me now. I'm offering like a 20-minute free discovery call to people that are interested in doing work. Treat this call as just a way where we can connect and I can hear a bit more about the things that you want to do work on and let you know if I can help you, okay, before we start doing any sort of type of therapeutic or coaching work. As always, a big thank you to you all for supporting my work, and until next time, until the next YouTube video I make, see you then. Peace.